Chapter 20. The human being area made us all fall quiet. We were given coats and hats to protect us from the cold, but my feet still hurt even though at that time there was no snow on the ground. We were allowed to walk among with the humans, who seemed to speak a basic form of our language. Although we were discouraged from touching them, we marveled at the tall houses where they lived and the strange, noisy vehicles, motor cars, set Mr. Park as one growled past us, controlled by a human. These are reactions modified with the sword, but the courteous, they can still hit you if you ever wonder just how primitive human creatures are. Remember, they eat other living creatures, and they can still burn fuels for heat and for transport. Next to me, Avi shook her head and said, "Unbelievable. The human exhibits were free to move around, to interact with one another. They ate and slept what they felt like it, and so on. They seemed to be unwashed. They smelled strange, and there was something disturbing about how they looked that I could not quite work out. I finally decided, thinking about it as we moved among them, and walked beneath a sign saying "Welcome to New Earth." Mr. Park kept up his commentary. The exhibits occasionally fight, just like they do in the wild, but it is seldom serious. There have been only 3 deaths in the last 10 or so years. Troublemakers are gently put to sleep. I kept looking at humans and wondering, Mr. Park, I said, why are they all different? No two like same. It's generally how they tell one another apart. Mr. Park said Mr. Park. We of course tend to distinguish one another by our smell. He was right. Most of us look very similar. Maybe is the only one I know who looks slightly different. She has a streak of much darker hair, a much darker nose, who looks slightly different. She was a streak of much darker hair that runs from her head and down her back. It is unusual, and she dislikes it, I think. Humans, however, have skins that are different shades. Their faces are arranged differently. Some of them have light eyes or dark eyes, and different shaped and very small noses. Mr. Park stretched out his arms. Look at how different they are. And there is even more variety in the world. These exhibits humans, animals have all have all been cloned from originals captured on Earth and brought back to our planet by brave collectors. Beside me, Amy uttered, uh, admiring who. A little while later, after walking around some more, I was still thinking about this. I felt someone nudge me. Come, said an older classmate, Callan, taking me by the hand. It's time to see a movie. We followed some other visitors in a large, darkened room with chairs and a screen at one end, showing to the moving picture. Behold, said Mr. Park, you are about to witness one of the primary pastimes of the creatures on Earth. It's possibly this that most distinguishes these creatures from more advanced life forms such as us. They spend astonishing amounts of time reading about things that are not true or watching them on screen. Around us there was a small gasp of astonishment, and Amy looked at me with an expression that said, "Is that not strange?" Mr. Park continued, they enjoy watching their fellow creatures hurt themselves, and often find this funny. They will open their mouths and emit a sound like this, haha, to indicate their amusement. If you raise her hand, will we witness this today? Mr. Park shook his head. It's unlikely. The practice of laughing, as I call it, is seldom seen in captivity. This movie or film was collected during the Great Exploration. There is no dialogue. The film started. In it, a man was run over by a car and then got up again. Then he fell down a hole in the ground and his head was squashed by a car. He climbed out of the hole and dodged another car, but jumped straight into the path of another one, which ran him over again. He appeared unharmed, which struck me as highly unlikely. It was all accompanied by a jangling soundtrack of music. A murmur went around our group. This is all untrue, said Avie, sounding annoyed. Indeed, said Mr. Park. human beings have, it would appear almost unlimited capacity of lying, for telling untruths, for telling only part of the truth, for making things up day after day after day. They tell one another stories. Their leaders lie to them, and then lie about lying to them. Parents lie to their children, children lie back to them, and then love about it. Why does lying make them love? I asked. Mr. Park threw his head up. I don't know, Helium. It just does sometimes. They say something that is untrue, then the human being who hears it pretended to think that is true, and then one or both parties do their ha ha thing. They call it joking. They have an entire industry proceeding books made of paper which tell untrue stories. They even have stories which deliberately make them sad. I had heard about this. We have books, of course, but they tell us useful things, things that we should learn. And remember about true things, the idea of filling a book within lies is quite simply ridiculous. Mr. Park clicked at the screen again, and the movie continued. It looked like very painful, and both Ivy and I were wiggling as we watched this poor person hurt himself. Eve said, "Does this make them sad? Seeing this person get hurt?" "No," said Mr. Park, clicking the spot. "Stop it again. They love. This is what they do. The man is not really hurt himself. It's called Buster Coiton. He's lying. As a human being thinks he's funny. He's probably has lots of money if he's still alive." "Helen, you remember what money is?" While he's thinking, the man on the screen fell over again, and something strange happened in my stomach. It twitched, and it was not the fact that he fell over. It was how he did it. He fell flat on his bottom, then sort of bounced up again, which was very acrobatic. Then he saw a close-up of his face, which had very per- peculiar expression, and my stomach twitched again, and I snuffled out of my noses. The more I tried to stop it, the more it happened, until Eve nodded at me. She looked horrified. "Are you laughing, Gideon?" She said it loud enough for others to hear, and everybody turned around in alarm. "Look, Gideon's laughing," Eve said again. I quickly recovered my composure and I heard a string sound behind us. Be like this waha waha wah waha. I turned. A human was sitting in a seat right behind us, making his string noise as I watched the screen. As it watched the screen. No, I said, seeing a chance to deflect attention. It was this one here, laughing and lying. What is wrong with me? I got careless eyes. He alone was looking at me, not with contempt, but with something more like interest. Everyone turned and watched the human. It was a male, dark skin, dark hair. Boha! It went again. It shook his head. We had noticed that most of the other exhibits did not mind being looked at. That they looked back when they were being observed, evenly expressionlessly, and did not talk to us. The smile, so his little nostrils flared, and his eyes narrowed. The gray leaked from his eyes and dribbled down his face. Eve nudged me. Look at this chin, she said. It's all wobbly. How interesting. Everyone in our group was fascinated. One or two were trying themselves to create the facial contortions of the exhibit. I, however, I felt uncomfortable, so uncomfortable, in fact, that I got up quietly and began to make my way to the exit. As I left the group, I could hear Mr. Park continue his lecture in his characteristic monotone. Observe, if you will, this exhibit. This is Carlo, an original. It was bought here 30 years ago. Originals are quite rare here in the Earth Zone, and I will provide new cells for cloning, enabling us to make sure the exhibits more wild and behavior you are witnessing is a form of pleasure. It it is known that regular people that Lothar can produce these so-called tears. I turn back and interrupt Mr. Park. So can happiness, sadness, grief. Mr. Park looked at me levelly. How informed you are, Helen. Yeah, you're right, of course. Human beings are like Carlo here are very often at the mercy of their emotions, which we, of course, are not. Is that not true, Helium? I noticed solemnly. stole money. Yes, sir. It is one of the many things that make us superior beings. From a seated position, Carlo continued his walking noise. It cut straight through me. I swallowed hard. But sir, what if it you mean it? Do you not mean? What if really is a crying form of happiness? Mr. Park stood up, stroked his tail through his hand, and adopted a deeper voice. Alien, as soon as originals are brought from Earth. And as you know, does not happen very often. But as soon as they are made calm with me both at once forms of drugs known to us. But if I'm to anticipate your next question, we do not shut off all of their emotions. Their emotions are what make them human. He paused to let his sink in. Such a of such a course of action would undoubtedly be cruel, or as they would say, inhuman. Everyone was looking at me now, even if I turned and went out into the fresh air, breathing in big gulps, sobbing. That was a noise Carlo making along with laughing. It is not something we do, babies, small children, the very old. Sometimes they do it, but it is unusual and considered very particular. I heard Mr. Park's words in my head again and again, along with the noise of Carlo, inhuman. From inside her every of this noise. Mr. Park, how does one become a collector of originals? Well, if he droned on, and I did not listen. Further, for although I did not realize that is at that time, I was already forming a although I did not realize it at the time. I was already forming a decision that you would make me to Earth. It's not just you, said a voice behind me sorrowfully. I turned to see the color through the dark movie room too. He came close enough for me to smell his breath, and I could tell he was being sincere. We were laughing, then he began, but I stopped him. It was not laughing. Don't worry, Elliot. He knew I was lying. He could smell it. But whatever he was about to say next was drawn by a heartless, loud honking noise, unlike anything I had heard before. A loud sound like this. Pa! I turned and I saw something that would change my whole life.